So welcome to the winter series, and sadly for everyone, this is going to be the very last one in winter series 4. And we're at the Mecca, where we always end up on the end of these winter series, and we're at the one and only Orchid Lake once again. I know we keep coming back here, but if you want to catch a winter lump, this is definitely the place to be. Now, one of the most surprising things is there's no one here. Unbelievable. I don't think I've ever been here and there's not been a single soul on the lake whatsoever. So yeah, luckily for us, we've got choice of the whole lake, so you know what better swim to go in than the Alamo. Now the Alamo has been trickling a few fish out. Last week there was a couple of lads in here, and I think they've done sort of 5 or 6 nights, I believe, in this swim, and all their bites seem to come from the left-hand side of the swim. So seeing as I haven't fished the left-hand side of the swim since I was last in here with Bartlett about 2 years ago, I believe, on a winter series, I thought, why not? Get in the left-hand side. Best side of the swim to fish in my eyes. I think a lot of the fish are hanging out in the middle of the pond. The guy that's going to be fishing alongside me on this one, I won't let the cat out the bag who he is just yet, but he's going to be arriving in the next hour or two. The sun's coming down at the moment. It's taken me forever to get the rods out, but they're out on a lovely sweet spot out there. Now the lads that were in the swim, they did tell me the wraps that they were fishing in, and one of the left-hand side of the swim was at 20¼ wraps, and their right-hand rod was at 17½, which I found a little bit strange, because if the fish are coming from the left to right, then you'd be cutting them off with the long rods fishing at 20 wraps. So what I've done is my own thing, basically not listened to a single thing that they've said, found my own spots out there, which is at about 21¾ wraps, just off the end of some gravel. So the rods are out there looking pretty at the moment. I've got all 3 rods on the same spot, and I'm really looking forward to this trip, and obviously looking forward to the guests that's going to be fishing alongside me.
Right, I'm not going to lie now, because people text me and they say to me, you've got a great job, and I've driven all the way from Yorkshire, 3.5 hours. I've had cameras on me since I started setting up. I'm now sat in a box with a light blasting on me, and I feel like I'm being interrogated by the SAS. But I'm at Orchid Lake. My name's Simon Crow, and I'm here with Mozza to fish for 48 hours. And this particular lake, I've a lot of history with. I first started fishing here probably 1988, 1989, something like that. So I know a little bit about it. And I must point out as well that when I arrived, Mozza's got all of his rods on the main spot. So he's probably going to catch about 4 or 5 more fish than I am. I'm out in open water. But, you know, you never know. You've got your rods out in the water, you've got a chance of catching fish. But Orchid's a beautiful lake. It's got some really great fish in here. It's quite a number of 30s. It's known as the home of the 30s. And because I have fished it over the course of the last 20 odd years on and off, I do know a little bit about it. So hopefully during the course of this film you might learn a little bit more about this lake and learn about the tactics to fish whilst you're down here in the winter.
Well, good morning, and unfortunately it's been uneventful as of yet. Nothing's happened throughout the night. Sort of last night I had the odd bleat, but yeah, very quiet. We've not seen anything. There's been no sort of activity out in the pond whatsoever, other than the fact that this morning the tufties had drifted over the top of my spot, and they were, oh, that's picked up a little bit of weed. But yeah, the tufties had drifted over the top of my spot and were reluctant to dive down, sort of thing, which you would like to believe that perhaps there could have been fish sat on the spot. Either that, or I've been completely cleared out and there was nothing for the tufties to dive on. But yeah, it's a strange one, to be honest. I mean, by January standards, it's not Baltic out, it's not, you know, January weather, should we say. It's still fairly mild, and you would like to think that a place like Orchid with weather like this, you might get the odd bite, but that hasn't happened as of yet. But I'm still, you know, quietly confident that I'm fishing the right area and that a bite may come in the next 24 hours. But at the minute, you know, we've not really got anything to go on, and just going to stick by my gun, sort of thing, and carry on fishing the same spots. But yeah, I'm going to have a refresh now, going to get all 3 rods in, get them back out on the money, and sit back and hope that a winter giant might come our way.
Good morning everyone, and a bit of an update then, and all I can say is that I've had a fantastic night's sleep because there's not much happened on the rods, but I've given it until around about 10:30 and then I've just freshened the rods up, because this lake in particular, I know it tends to fish really well first thing in the morning, and you know, the last thing I want to be doing is reeling and redoing my rods when the fish are about to feed. So I've given it to about 10:30. I've just freshened things up now, and it's just a case of sitting and waiting, and that is the main part of winter fishing really, is just sitting and waiting, trying to sort of while the hours away and hope that one of these rods trundles off with a big one on the end. And when it does, it is a fantastic moment as well, because winter fishing can be hard. It can be hard mentally, and sitting there with not much happening, not seeing much, but then just waiting for that moment that when it does happen, it's fantastic, and it's a really memorable moment as well. Yeah, we've got a fish on, which is good. We've just sat there thinking, really buzzing about all the rods. I'm not going to lie, we've got the drone out and had a look around the lake and found a group of fish, technical carping, and there seems to be a decent group of fish out in front of, well, between the 2 swims myself and Mozza are, and just put the rod out only a few moments ago. It's literally been in the water probably, how long, mate? 5 minutes, this rod? Yeah. And it's just gone, so yeah, let's see if we can get it in. That'll do. Well, I'm not going to lie to you, because technology has helped us catch this fish, because we got the drone out this morning to do some footage and we managed to see some fish that were right out in front of where we're fishing, literally halfway between myself and where Lee is, and took the boat out to where the fish were, and there's a lovely big clear area there, and lo and behold, 5 minutes later we've got this one on the mat. A lovely mirror, probably about 22, 23 pounds, and it's come just over a small free offering of corn alongside some SLK and even a worm on the end of the hook as well, so a little bit different. And only 5 minutes later we've got this one, so hopefully, because we're only halfway through the trip, there's a good chance we're going to get a better one now. Fingers crossed. As always with myself, I'm using a really simple rig. We've basically just got a lead clip on there with a 4-ounce lead. And we've got about 8 inches of coated hook link, which I've taken the outer coating off. So we just left this really nice supple braided material. We've got a size 6 hook and a knotless knot, and then on the hook, a bit of a concoction there. We've got a worm on, we've got a trimmed down SLK and a bit of plastic corn on the end. Dead simple, but it's effective and working today.
So end of the second day then, and I'm absolutely buzzing that size caught one, to be honest. I'm so happy that, you know, after this morning of sitting here thinking, why haven't we had a bite? You know, morning times on any lake, any time of the year, is always going to be the best time, obviously, to get a bite. And when it didn't happen this morning, I was getting a little bit panicky, thinking, you know, is this going to be a bit of a write-off sort of thing? And we've obviously had a couple of write-offs this winter on this winter series, which I'll talk a little bit more, or elaborate more, a little bit later on in the session. But to go into the second night with Si obviously catching one has, you know, really boosted morale, definitely. And obviously seeing those fish out on the drone has helped us, and the fact that we could use it to our advantage this time round, why not, you know? So yeah, I'm really hopeful that, you know, not only could Si perhaps get another bite this evening, you know, my rods are looking pretty as well. Now, I have had a little bit of a change up in the fact that I've come a little bit closer to the swim. I was fishing out at, I can't actually remember how many wraps. I think it was 20 something or other. But yeah, I've basically come down to about 20 and a quarter, just because it feels a little bit deeper in that area. A couple of the lads come round, local boys, who said, you know, that is where you want to be fishing, because that's where, you know, a lot of the bites have come out of this swim. So I've come a little bit closer in. I haven't been putting a lot of bait out. I think 6 spods over the top of the spot with all 3 rods on isn't a lot of bait at all. So yeah, that's exactly what I've done. I've come a little bit closer in, put another 6 spods out on top of 3 rods, and rods are out there looking pretty again. But yeah, it always feels mad for it whenever you're at Orchid, and like I say, you know, you can be here in any type of weather and catch them, but sometimes, you know, the place just shuts down and you can't scratch out a single bite. And the fact that Crowy's done that has really, like I say, boosted morale in the swim, and we're really hopeful for the night ahead.
Good morning, and it's been another quiet night last night, and Lee behind the camera has just said that he's currently going against all the rules in that he's shooting into the sunlight. Well, I think that's the way of summing up this particular session, because I've just put the picture up on social media of the fish that I've caught, and I've admitted that we caught it by using a drone. So we've gone against all the rules of what everybody says when it comes to carping. You have to use your watercraft, etc. And yeah, we've used it in a different way as far as I'm concerned, because I took the drone up to do some aerial shots of the lake. We didn't put it up there to try and find the fish, and he's then turned around and said, "My God, look at the amount of fish on the picture here." You'd be a fool to ignore that kind of information. And you know, nobody else around the lake at the moment has caught anything. We've caught one fish, we've been successful. We came down here to catch a fish, and you've got to utilise technology as far as I'm concerned. You know, that is the way of the world. Sometimes using advancements helps you. Some guys say that using buzzers is cheating. Some people say that using the new fancy rods is cheating. Fishing is about going fishing for yourself and embracing technology as far as I'm concerned. And I've been down here for 48 hours now. We've caught one fish. I'm happy with the fish that I've caught, and I'm happy to spend 48 hours sitting here and knowing that my rods are where the fish are. And that's what it's all about in the winter, is finding the spots where the carp are. We've done it in a different way. Whether you like it or you don't, to me, I've enjoyed it. I've had a great session, and all I've got to do now is just slowly get packed up and get on the road back home, because it's going to be about 2 or 3 hours of driving for me to get back to Yorkshire. But yeah, hopefully we might get one whilst we're packing up, but it's been an enjoyable trip anyway.
So seeing as now this trip is coming to an end, it would be wrong for me not to have a recap and tell you about how mega tough this winter series has been at times. And we don't normally have to reshoot the winter series, or many of the sessions that we've done. I think last year we had a reshoot, and that was about it. I don't think we've ever reshot any, due to sort of blank sort of thing. And we always wonder whether people would like to see the blanks, because obviously it's, you know, that's reality. You do come out in winter time, spring, summer and autumn, the blanks are gonna come every now and then. But it is a fishing video, isn't it? So people obviously want to see fish on film and the tactics you go about catching these fish, obviously. So yeah, when we first started this winter series 4, we were told from the guys obviously back in the offices, let's not use maggots on this one, and that worried me from the get-go. Obviously maggots are a massive edge in the winter, and the fact that we were sort of told, you know, don't be using maggots, I honestly thought this is going to be really tough. Not only is it obviously tough trying to catch fish in the winter, but when you're having an edge like maggots taken away from you, I'm sort of wondering, you know, we'd already had the venues booked in. Elphick was a maggot dominated water. It has been, you know, that's common knowledge for a lot of guys that go to Elphick. So when we were going there unarmed with maggots, I honestly thought this is going to be a blank. And well, that is without a shadow of a doubt one of the best shoots we've ever had on the winter series. I mean, for Tong to have a 41, that 36 pounder, he had that skate, just what a trip that was. Absolutely mega. But it wasn't all, you know, singing and dancing for Tong. When we did the very first shoot, we went over to St John's at Linear, and when we turned up in the car park, there was 6 people on the whole complex, which is, well, just unheard of for there, to be honest. So we pretty much had the pick of wherever. And when we turned up in the St John's car park, we saw one straight away up in the bowl end of the lake. And then we saw another, and then another. So obviously the lads set up on them. It was Tong and Bonesy fishing, and you know, both very capable anglers of catching them out of St John's, especially Bonesy. You know, he knows it. I believe he knows it very well. And yeah, it was that insane, the amount of fish that were in front of it. I had to chuck some rods out. So I ended up chucking 3 zigs out, and I had them all over me all night. Well over 50 shows I had all night. and nothing happened. You know, we blanked, we couldn't believe it, you know, that it just hadn't paid off for us. It was gutting, because the shoot was brilliant. Obviously, two characters like Tong and Bonesy, they, you know, it was a really, really good shoot. And if ever you were going to put a video together that was going to have no fish on it, then I suppose that would have been the one to do, really. And then after that, we went to Cuttle Mill, and that was a struggle. And obviously, the minute we got there, I don't think he's the owner or the bailiff, the guy that runs the place, you know, oh, it hasn't done a bite for 2 weeks. Oh, and alarm bells are ringing, you know, when a lake hasn't done a bite for 2 weeks. And there were some really good anglers that had been on there in them 2 weeks. It hadn't done a bite as well. We were worried. So the fact that we managed to scratch a bite out there, wow, you can tell from the reaction of me and Tong on that one that, you know, we were absolutely elated to catch that 19-pounder on there and scratch that bite out there. It was mega. And what a great venue, a lovely shoot that was. And it was nice for me to experience it with all the history that's behind Cuttle Mill. And then we went to Berners Hall. And how that didn't happen for us, I do not know. But I just don't think we were on them. I think me and Jay, we went over there. I was fishing with Jay Carp on that one, and I think we scared them out of the area, to be honest. We put a fair bit of bait out from the off, because when we very first got there, we saw a fish show out in the middle of the pond, and then we just both went at it gun-ho, you know, just putting loads and loads of bait out there, put 3 rods out each. We had 6 rods hanging out in the front of the swim, and the fish had obviously gone left down but the other side of where the island was. And yeah, one of the other lads down there, he managed to catch a few mega fish, and I was a bit gutted that we couldn't get in, you know, amongst the party as such, or, you know, amongst the fish, the party, div. So we had another blank there as well. You know, me and Jay, we blanked at Berners Hall. That was an absolute gutter, real grueler, and we're thinking, you know, this winter series is going to be tough. And then, yeah, we went to Vermuyden, a place I've never been before. You know, that was going... Obviously, we were, after the Berners Hall blank, we were, you know, getting worried, thinking we need to go to a venue where we can definitely get a few bites. It's never a guarantee in the winter, obviously, no matter where you go. But we were told that Vermuyden's real good venue to get a few bites out of in the winter. Went over there, and like I say, you know, we did all right. Well, Jay, unfortunately, Carp Mail, who was fishing with me at Berners Hall, we reshot it, obviously, at Vermuyden, and he fell ill quickly. And I've never seen a person deteriorate so quickly. He weren't well, and he's lying on his bed just feeling like death. I mean, you know what it's like when you get man flu, it hits you hard, and it hit him hard, bless him. And yeah, off the back of that, you know, he couldn't fish that great, and unfortunately didn't have anything. But, you know, I got lucky. I fell on the fish very quickly from, you know, knowledge off of friends in the past, because it was a strike. When I first walked round, I walked round 3 times, couldn't find anything, didn't know where to go, didn't have a clue where to start, really. And then, obviously, speaking to one of my friends, best bet, peg 2. There's some dying lily pads out there, fish to them. And, you know, I kept my eyes peeled, looking for bubblers, and, yeah, got lucky with 4 fish, I suppose. And, yeah, that was a great video. Really enjoyed the venue. You know, lovely place to go in the winter if ever you're looking for a winter venue to get yourself a few bites from Vermuyden. Definitely the one. So that brings us up to now, and obviously it's been a massive privilege to fish alongside Crowy at Orchid. You know, Crowy's got a lot of history here. He did a bit of work experience many years ago here, and he was telling me about where the Alamo swim used to be out on the point to our left. I think Crowy's got some photos which I'll overlay on this, and yeah, the venue obviously we're talking, I think 25 years ago. I think Crowy said that he was here doing work experience, and yeah, there's obviously a lot of history at this place. And it's mega in the winter, you know. If ever you want to get out there and try and catch yourself a winter lump, this is the place to be. Now, it's no runs water. I know sometimes it's portrayed to be a runs water when you see us lads coming over and we have them sort of red letter sessions here, but it's not like that. You do have to fish well at Orchid, and you know, if you fall on them and they're feeding, then the results are there to be had. You know, it's almost like anywhere, I suppose, but Orchid is special in the winter for getting yourself a few bites off of big uns without a shadow of a doubt. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every time I come to Orchid. I've not even caught fish this session, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, it is a lovely, lovely place to be. And that brings us up to the end of the winter series, I suppose. And I'm not going to lie, like I said, it's been hard. It's been a struggle. I've hovered over the stove. I don't know how many gas cans I've done this winter series. Well over 20 cans, easily. But yeah, they're always thoroughly enjoyable though, and I get it. It's hard. No one else is out there doing it in the winter. You know, it's a big risk doing shoots in the winter, but we love doing them, and long may the winter series continue.